All right, good morning. We begin with some important breaking news for you. Got to tell you about this. First things first, very busy morning, a possible child abduction. Take a look at your screen right now. You see that child there. JSO just released that photograph. That's 2-year-old Aaron Ebron. They say he was only wearing a diaper. Police say they are investigating a reported auto theft as well with a possible child abduction here.
JSO working a possible child abduction. PIO Melissa Beheda with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office is going to give us the update right now. Melissa, what do you know so far?
At around 2:22 this morning, JSO received a call in reference to an auto theft with a child that was in the back seat. This happened right next door to where we're at 8030 Old Kings Road South, which is the Ravenswood Apartments. Right now, a 2-year-old child is missing. He was last seen wearing a diaper. His name is Aaron Ebron. I've already tweeted out the photo. I will email it to you all as well. There was a little bit of delay in calling because the boyfriend who had the custody of the child, cell phone was dead. So as soon as he plugged it up, he called JSO and reported the incident to us.
Actually, hold on one second. We're just getting word that the child does have a different name.
Lonzie Barton.
Lonzie Barton is the child's name. That's coming from JSO's Public Information Officer, Melissa Beheda. Lonzie Barton, we're not really sure where this name came from. Not really sure where Aaron Ebron's name came from, but Lonzie Barton is the name that Melissa Beheda just gave us. We're working to find out more information about that. But again, this child went missing around 2:20 this morning is when JSO got a phone call. It happened right at the Ravenwood apartment complex. The boyfriend had the child in the car, ran inside to grab something. When he came out the car and the child inside the car were both gone. They found the vehicle just a few blocks away, but the child was not in that car. So again, this child that they are looking for, Lonzie Barton, is the child's name. We'll get the spelling for you on that. We do have a new picture that I just put on Facebook as well. If you're looking for more information, you can find it on our Facebook page.
And the vehicle has been recovered, no child inside. And that's where Lisa Robbins, where that vehicle has been recovered, that's where she is live for us right now with some more details. Good morning, Lisa.
Yeah, Patty, Lewis, good morning. I want you to take a live look at this vehicle. That is the 1995 Honda Civic Orange. It was stolen in connection with this missing child, 19-month-old Lonzie Barton. And what you're looking at now, we have several officers and detectives with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. And what they're doing right now is they have that car surrounded and they are processing the vehicle for evidence, for prints, for any kind of indication as to who was driving this vehicle before this child was taken, or when this child was taken.
The story is this: he was leaving the apartments to take the 2 children which he cares for that are not his biological kids over to pick up the children's mother. She worked at a restaurant bar and was getting off work. He was taking the kids to go pick her up from work. He took a 5-year-old female and the 1.5-year-old male to the car, went back upstairs to the apartment to retrieve something. As he's upstairs in the apartment, the 5-year-old comes upstairs and tells him that she's scared. He turns around and goes back out, finds that the car's not there, looks in the parking lot and can see his car, a distinctive orange-colored Honda Civic, driving off in the complex. He calls the police. Police come out to the scene. About 4 blocks up Kings Road, within a short period of time, the Sheriff's Office detectives or officers find the car, which is near Sierra Madre Drive and Cespedes Drive. The car is abandoned. The child is not in the car. At this point in time now, we've issued an Amber Alert for the child. The child is 1.5. He turns 2 in October. His name is Lonzie Barton.
Police say he weighs 20 pounds approximately. He has blue eyes, blonde hair, and he was last seen wearing only a diaper.
This all began very, very early this morning. The sun had not come up just before 2:30 this morning. This was at the Ravenwood Apartments on South Old Kings Road, Bay Meadows area, okay? Police say the little boy was last seen inside an orange 1995 Honda Civic with a black hood, very distinctive vehicle. The car was later recovered a short distance away from the apartment complex in the 8100 block of Cespedes Avenue. We're told that's a little less than a mile or so away.
Shannon, I'm here in Baker County. In fact, I'm at the apartment complex where they were living, Baker Manor. They were staying there in apartment 7 back in May when they were arrested and subsequently evicted. Just a few minutes ago, I went to the Baker County Courthouse and was able to obtain that motion to revoke the bond and ordering the arrest and the commitment of the defendant, Mr. William Reuben Ebron. And as you read the information, it clearly states why. Number one, part of that bond was he should not have been in contact with Lonzie's mom, but he was. In fact, they were sharing an apartment that they've been subletting with a friend. And secondly, he was not supposed to be using drugs. He was on a curfew from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. But interestingly, in this filing, the detective that interrogated him said that Mr. Ephraim told him that Ebron told him that he had loaded some clothes at the laundromat, that he went back to the apartment complex to get this, use powder cocaine, and he left the now missing child in the vehicle with the engine running. A few minutes later, the defendant heard the vehicle leaving, and the defendant ran outside to see the vehicle exiting onto Old Kings Road South in Jacksonville. What's interesting about that, from what we've heard earlier, there's no mention of the 5-year-old coming to him in the apartment and saying she was scared.
We now know more information about the mother of the 21-month-old child who, according to police, went missing around 2 this morning. According to employees here at Wacko's right behind me, the mother is being identified as Lana. She works here as a dancer, and she did report to work last night. A security guard tells me she left work around 2:15 in the morning. In Jacksonville, Honey Rodriguez, First Coast News, NBC 12, ABC 25.
What the court records say about what happened just before this little boy disappeared. Clark?
Yes, Shannon, Heather, we've uncovered the court records produced today that say Reuben Ebron left little Lonzie in the car so he could go back into the apartment to get powder cocaine. In fact, we've uncovered records showing Reuben Ebron has a long and violent criminal history, not only with little Lonzie's mother, but with other women too. Toddler Lonzie Barton went missing after his guardian, who was also his mother's boyfriend, went into their apartment to do drugs, according to court records obtained by the First Coast News investigators.
If I'm the caregiver of a 21-month-old that had this happen as he claims that did, I would do everything in my power to be cooperative with law enforcement. Throughout the day, that hasn't exactly been the case. And again, to walk in great detail through that, I'm really not prepared to do. But I can say it's been a little bit like pulling teeth sometimes to get some of that information that we want.
Court records show at least 4 restraining orders filed by people who claimed Reuben Ebron abused them. One petitioner said Ebron told her, "I'm going to shoot you in the head tonight." In another petition, the woman said Ebron turned and punched me in my jaw while I was driving.
Mr. Ebron, as you stated, is here at the Duval Detention Center facing charges of child neglect. He is very familiar with the law. According to some information we first reported to you yesterday, he has been out on bond following a May 30th arrest in Baker County, and he violated the conditions of his probation.
Well, Jessica, I just want to reiterate that William Ebron is now officially a suspect in this abduction, and while hundreds of officers spent the day searching for little Lonzie, Ebron is now sitting behind me in the Duval County Jail on a $100,000 bond.
A father's plea to his son, the suspect in this little boy's disappearance. Tonight, what he told him in jail.
And I asked God to please give me guidance to talk to him, to get through to him.
As the search for Lonzie Barton grows grim.
And like I said, if there's a puddle or body of water, we'll be in it or around it. If there's woods and trees, we're under and looking.
It's the end of day 3 and still no sign.
Well, tomorrow's Monday. We can still pray then to continue to do so.
If they are going to bed at all tonight, those searching for this missing Jacksonville toddler are surely in for another fitful night's sleep. Another day has passed and still no sign of Lonzie Barton. Dive teams scoured retention ponds today as detectives combed woods. And based on the information police have right now, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office says it is less and less likely that the 21-month-old will be found alive.
My name is William Ebron Sr. I'm the father of William Ebron Jr.
And you just got back from seeing your son in jail?
Yes, I did. I did a visit and spent about an hour and a half with him.
William Reuben Ebron Sr., a Navy veteran.
He was in the Navy?
He was in the Navy.
And you're a registered nurse?
I am.
His wife, the suspect's mom, Wanda, choosing to have her voice only on TV.
I'm wanting to find the baby. He's there. What comes after that, I don't know, but the baby was lost on his watch.
Mom says her son graduated high school in California with a GPA above 3.0. And both parents tell me they do not believe their son would intentionally hurt a child.
Because he said that he and Lana had talked marriage. He says that he spends so much time with little Lonzie. He said that he was the one that's potty trained him. He's the one that's doing things for him because he watches him while she works. And he stated that little Lonzie even started calling him daddy.
So the police, though, are saying that your son is lying. And did you ask him about that?
I asked him about it. And he told me he 95% totally cooperated with them. And I said, well, we need 100. We need 110%. I said, what 5% are you talking about that you didn't completely come honest with?
Dad says it was about drugs.
So he may have been selling drugs between 8 p.m. and 2:22, or buying them or something.
There might have been some type of transaction.
And Dad is up front about his own questions.
I hope and pray that it's not a cover-up. If that car was stolen, why would the baby not be there? And the car is only a couple blocks away.
So are you worried that maybe your son lost it? He admitted he was smoking cocaine. Could he have just gotten angry and hurt the child, not meaning to actually lose the child's life?
I don't believe that, because I know how much my son loves kids.
Dad says his son admits he is guilty of child neglect, the official charges against him at this point. And Dad's prayers, he says, for Lonzie.
And what if he's already deceased?
And if he is deceased, to guide his little body to heaven. He didn't deserve this.
And at jail, just how blunt did he get with his son?
Did you just up front say, I can't even say it, but did you kill Lonzie?
I asked him face to face, man to man, did you cause harm to that little boy? And he said, Daddy, I didn't do it. I said, did you do something that caused harm to him and you panicked? He said, no, Daddy, I didn't do that.
Would he tell you?
I would hope. But at this point, he's made some decisions lately that make me question, because he just didn't listen to the guidance from me and Mom.
Dad is open about the restraining orders against his own son.
His ex-girlfriend was here, and there was a confrontation, and he actually tried to hit her. He did hit her. And I stepped in, and I saw it in the papers yesterday when I wrestled him away. And I barred him from coming back here.
Parents facing a crisis, but both saying their faith is strong and they're praying. And so Dad's words to his son in jail?
You need to go in and get on your knees. You need to pray. You need to pray for God to provide you strength to make your decisions, to put everything out there that you have so that we can find this little baby and bring him home.
And one more question before the doorbell rang and JSO officers came in to question the parents.
You've been very gracious to talk to me, to let me into your home. Why?
Because I have nothing to hide, and I want only the best. I mean, we are God-fearing people. We love kids, we love people. What's right is right, and a child is an innocent gift.
Jeannie Blaylock, First Coast News, NBC 12, ABC 25.
And they're hard to find just because it's so hard to see down there. So Clark Foraker went underwater himself to get an idea of the difficulty these divers face.
JSO continues to search every pond and every stream for missing Lonzie Barton, but as they do, they're finding things they never expected to find. That's because it's murky under there. We busted out our underwater cameras to show you just how hard it is to see. It's worth saying it's hard to search for much of anything if you can't see what's in front of you.
Anytime you have this amount of personnel searching an area, you're going to find things that she didn't know were there.
JSO found a car in this pond yesterday with human remains inside. The car had been there for years, police say, and divers only found it because they were in the water looking for lonzie.
We're not sure the color because it has been in there quite a long time.
Been there quite a long time, and nobody knew because of just how murky it is beneath the surface. Take a look at our camera. Just inches below the surface of the lake, JSO pulled the car from. Now, see what the camera sees, and see why it would be so hard to find just about anything below the surface. Had a diver not stumbled upon the car, it would have stayed underwater where it had been for years.
I'm not really surprised, but in the same sense, I'm sure the possibility to find some more.
With that in mind, JSO says they'll continue to search every pond on the First Coast, hoping to find what they're looking for. Clark Foraker, First Coast News, NBC 12, ABC 25.
A tearful prayer.
Lord, bring my baby boy home. Please, God, bring my baby boy home.
For a father, it's both hope and heartache.
I'm never giving up. Giving up on this little man. Until the day he's back in my mommy's arms.
For police, it's both determination and disappointment.
I drove into work this morning and I watched the sunrise, the beautiful sunrise, and I thought, there's a 21-month-old that will probably not ever see a sunrise again, and we, and I, and everybody else dedicated to this is doing everything in our power to find him and put him where he belongs.
You know, I think that we are all feeling the same thing right now. All of us in our community want Lonzie home, some peace in this. And tonight, for the very first time, we're hearing from Lonzie Barton's biological father.
The exclusive sit-down interview comes as the investigation into the boy's disappearance shifts in a new direction. For 6 days now, the search for Lonzie covered some 2,500 acres of land and 40 bodies of water on the south side of Jacksonville. Well, JSO has expanded that search to the south end of the Trout River. That is in North Jacksonville. We'll have more on that expanded search area and a live report in just a moment.
Lonzie's dad, he's talking for the very first time tonight, and I'll tell you, he had to get up some courage to do this interview. Even as a parent, I told him that I just can't possibly understand what he's going through. So we followed his wishes. So you will see him blurred out in the interview, but what he has to say is powerful.
This is Christopher Barton, the father of Lonzie Aaron Ray Barton.
Every word, every thought, just so much pain.
And you say you've actually gone in the water yourself and looked, used your hands and...
Yeah, I've been all in the woods, all in the briars, all in the trees, on the brush, water, waist deep. I go barefooted, so I can be able to feel something that I hope I don't feel. But I don't want to talk like he's gone. I believe he's out there, and I believe he's alive.
Do you find yourself talking to him?
Yeah, I do. Every time I open my phone, I look at my phone, and I wake up in the morning before I go to sleep. But whenever I do sleep, I don't sleep much these days. But whenever I do, I just look up at the sky and tell him, I know you're out there, little man.
A tearful Chris Barton, Lonzie's father that you just heard from, joined hundreds in McClenny just praying for a bit of good news.
Little Lonzie's coming home.
I just don't know what to do, except pray. That's all we can do is pray.
And there is a lot of prayer in this small community.
It's a sad situation, but, hopefully something good may come out of it. But I'm just hope and pray that they find him.
In the midst of the search for Lonzie Barton, hundreds gathered to pray, hoping for a miracle. Shirley Barton is Lonzie's great aunt. She says it's her faith and that of all these people that will bring Lonzie home.
I want him to be found. Just found him back where he belongs. Precious little baby. We never know. We never know. Just keep them close and hold them tight.
Joe Snowden doesn't know the family, but today that's not necessary.
My thought was with them and that baby is, the babies are the innocence of the world. That's what it all boils down to.
Trying to explain what is happening here and to comfort his son Jacob, he says what his son said comforted him.
When they released the balloons earlier, Jacob made the comment of, well, maybe he can ride a balloon home to his mom and dad.
There are several other visuals planned in Jacksonville and in Orange Park on Friday.
Listen, I'm not much of a poker player. I know that you're not supposed to show your hand, but today in this, I'm about to do just that.
Surveillance video released, JSO says, shows Ruben Ebron running down the street away from his car just minutes before he called 911 the day Lonzie disappeared. The latest on what JSO now calls a murder investigation.
Lana and Chris Barton agreed to sit down with us because they say they want the community to know how grateful they are for all of the support and the prayers and the time that has been dedicated to finding their son.
All the time that it's, that they're inside their homes and they're taking their time, before bedtime just to squeeze that little prayer in for our son and our family. I really, we really do appreciate it. We just want them to keep doing the same, and vice versa. We are praying for them too, that they don't give up, that God just keeps that little kindle of a flame burning in them to, keep our baby in their prayers and to not let them forget, that he's still out there and he still hasn't been brought home and that he still needs them prayers.
They ask we not show their face for the sake of their other children.
I don't want to be the focus. My baby should be the focus. They need to see his face. Not mine.
They have now said that they believe this is a murder investigation and that they believe Ruben has information that can help find him.
I do not believe my baby was murdered. That's one thing that I refuse to believe. That evidence has not been put in my face or on paper or in proof in front of me. And that's one thing that I will not come to terms with as far as even my baby not being alive.
Lana, why did you lie about not knowing Ebron? This was Lana Larimore Barton last week in handcuffs and being called a liar by JSO Chief Tom Hackney.
There's been a pattern of deception, of lies, whatever adjective you want to use to call it. It's just not telling the truth.
It's been 1 month since Lonzie was last seen. Hackney says the day before he went missing, the 1-year-old had a bruise on his head and fluid coming from his ear. But Lana told us a different story about that day.
It was actually a very lazy day. We didn't do anything that day, actually. We all just watched movies and kind of hung out in the room, and I almost didn't go to work.
She was arrested 25 days after Lonzie went missing and was charged with child neglect and lying to police. Hackney says when confronted by investigators the night Lonzie went missing, she denied knowing Ruben Ebron, the man investigators believe knows what happened to Lonzie.
She said she didn't know him, gave repeated false statements, and then later admitted to investigators that she had made these false statements.
September 16th, 7:10 p.m., $100, 520s.
The video you see is a Baker County deputy giving a confidential informant money to buy drugs from Lana and Chris Barton, the parents of missing toddler Lonzie Barton. The informant, wearing a hidden camera, walks to the Motel 6 in McClenny, and Chris Barton opens the door. In the room with Chris is Lana Barton.
Come on, man, join the circle. We're ready to be a square.
And their friend Sean Hall, who police say died this past weekend of a drug overdose.
You ain't never done it. I've done it, but not this strong.
What the informant is referring to is what happens next.
You gonna watch me? It feels like.
In the video, Lana injects herself with what investigators say is the synthetic drug Molly. She then asks Chris for help. After Lana injects herself, she puts the syringe in Chris's mouth. As the three leave the motel, the informant tells them that he is going to stay in the room and rest. You can hear Lana tell him how to keep his heart rate down after using drugs.
Start at like 60 and just start counting backwards. Close your eyes while you're doing it. Like kind of, like sit back in a chair, count 60 with your eyes closed. And before you know it, it really will slow your heart rate down.
The Bartons returned to the room that same night, and investigators say they had more drugs. The Bartons and Sean Hall were all arrested for possession of narcotics with the intent to sell and other charges.
A couple weeks ago, I was working on a feature story about the Powerball jackpot. So mostly as a joke, I called a Middleburg psychic to chime in on the story. He didn't have much to offer. couldn't give me the winning Powerball numbers naturally, but at the end of the conversation he brought up a random fact, that Lonzie Barton's parents had recently visited him for a psychic reading, hoping to find their son. Curious, naturally, I asked if he happened to record this session, and he said yes. He offered me the video and the audio, and that's what you'll be seeing here in this story.
The latest on the breaking news we've been following for you. Police are searching for 19-month-old little Lonzie Barton.
The sheriff's office was called out actually to an abduction in progress at 8030 Old Kings Road to the
Police say Lonzie and his 5-year-old sister were being watched by their mother's boyfriend.
News of this, when it hit the neighborhood, it rocked the neighborhood. And
he captivated a community. Blonde hair, blue eyes.
He was wearing only a diaper at the time.
A 2-year-old little boy, last seen in nothing but a diaper. Know his name is Lonzie Barton.
More people that we could have out here looking for him.
Hundreds searched for him, more prayed for him. And still today, months later, nothing, including the answers to the single most important question, where is Lonzie?
Why don't we start with, if we have any questions for
That's the same question Lonzie's parents, Chris and Lana Barton, asked a local psychic.
Just my son. Okay. I'm a retired police officer.
Middleburg's Chuck Bergman, more than 30 years on the Salem, Massachusetts force.
And I'm a psychic medium who is able to connect people with their loved ones that have passed over to the other side.
I call BS.
I used to be on your team, and then when things started happening that I had no choice.
Believe him or not, reality is Chuck is out there. Written a book about his skills.
You haven't talked about how he passed away.
Hosted radio programs, been on reality TV shows. Point is, he's known in this world. So it was no surprise to him when his phone rang about 2 months ago.
Oh, it was Christopher. And he explained that different people had told him about my abilities and that all he wanted was to know if his son was dead or alive.
This was a strange time for the Bartons. During this month, they were under a Baker County drug investigation. They didn't know at the time, but their arrests were right around the corner. Still, the couple found the time to visit Chuck.
Okay, that's me there, and obviously I'm sitting in front of them. You can see a little bit of my face.
Sat down in his living room.
Okay, this is the point where Christopher joins in.
Typical of Chuck's in-home psychic readings, he records video and audio of the session. Uses this camera, tripod, and microphone rig right out in the open. And like most of his sessions, he says this one lasted a little more than an hour.
Ask me questions in the middle of it.
The conversation is limited to mostly small talk, yes and no answers, and very little from Lonzie's father, Chris. Then the video recording stops. About 24 minutes into the session, Chuck blaming a malfunction with the camera. However, the audio kept rolling.
I feel like this isn't a time for me to break down. If I don't stand strong for my baby, no one else will. I'm his mom.
You'll notice Lana does most of the talking, explaining why she'd choose to visit a psychic.
If I feel stuck, I feel like, my family's not complete, and until he's, found and, whatever, he's either put back with us or laid to rest, I can't move on with my life.
When you told me you had it, I was, where's the big top and where are the elephants? Because this is a circus.
Mark Bauman, total skeptic.
So, I don't know if it was contrived or not.
He's a 36-year law enforcement vet, an investigator's background at the local, state, and federal level. We showed him the footage. He looked and listened, and he says it seemed less like a psychic reading and more a venting session for Lana.
You guys are saying Ruben done it, Ruben done it, Ruben done it, but you won't show us no proof.
She also basically slams JSO because she thinks that they're solely focused on Ruben, and which makes sense that they should be because he was the last one to have contact with the child as an adult.
Talking about Ruben Ebron, JSO's prime suspect. They say Lonzie's caretaker the night he disappeared and romantically involved with Lana. In Duval County Jail right now on child neglect charges.
She was very non-emotional. There was none of that. She seemed to be more into protecting Ruben.
In the interest of being transparent and staying on the correct side of the law, Chuck said he offered these recordings to the JSO investigators involved in this case. He said they told him thanks, but no thanks. We did ask JSO. The only response we got was no comment. But if what Chuck says is true, and they did not accept those tapes, Bauman thinks it was the right call.
Psychics, hypnotists, go as far as polygraphs. None of that is admissible in a court of law.
He even says this may not be as desperate as it looks or seems. but instead perhaps an attempt to better their image.
And I'm not sure, since she knew it was recorded, she took the moment to make sure that she could get every exculpatory statement as she could.
And again, just before the session ends, Lana comments about Ruben.
He's told me, and he's told everyone, you know, they need to find the baby and they need to put him back with his mom. They need to find, you know, that I am not the key that they keep trying to say I am. I'm a dead end.
Now, as far as the psychic reading went, they obviously did not learn where Lonzie is.